Hi, and welcome again to the Path to Profit podcast. I'm Brad Dobson with my partner in crime, Dr. Minette Riordan, and we're thrilled to introduce Jeannie Spiro to you today.
With us today.
I screwed up the intro. What can I say? We talked about failure in our last podcast, so it's all part of the deal.
We did.
Welcome, Jeannie.
Thank you so much. It's great to be with both of you.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. And I found an appropriate quote for our topic today, which is all about speaking. No, that was the last show. So it's been a full day, you can tell, for us already. And we like being silly and not taking ourselves too seriously. I think on our own entrepreneurial journey, individually and together for the last year, learning how to be silly is part of the process of getting over some of those failures. Our quote today is from Dale Carnegie, and Dale Carnegie says, "There are always 3 speeches for every one you actually gave: the one you practiced, the one you gave, and the one you wish you gave."
I love that one. I just used that one recently. Yes.
And I gave a speech at the Craft and Hobby Association National Conference last Friday. Well, I don't know when it'll be but anyway, recently. And there was definitely the one I wish I gave, right? So it had that sense and that feeling. So I appreciated the insights.
Is Dale Carnegie, I know Carnegie from Carnegie Mellon, but that's different different Carnegie, right?
Same family, right?
Oh, is it?
He's a well-known speaker, and he talks a lot about success in business too. And actually, most of my clients come to me for that last point. They come to me and say, "Oh, the speech I wish I'd given was the one that I want you to help me right now." So, all right.
I love that.
Please.
So let me share a little bit about you, Jeannie, and then we'll dive right into a conversation about speaking. So Jeannie is known for her insightful, authentic, and engaging approach. She's a top-notch speaker, sales strategist, and business coach. She works with coaches, consultants, and service-based entrepreneurs on how to deliver an engaging signature talk. If you don't know what a signature talk is, I'm sure she'll share with us in a little bit. You should have one. How to close sales conversations without feeling pushy and generate consistent revenue. We love that piece on the Path to Profit, right? Consistent revenue, no big spikes, no roller coaster, but consistent revenue. Having earned 6 figures in just 12 months as a result of her own speaking and selling her coaching packages, Jeannie is passionate about sharing her proven formula with others so they can build equally fulfilling and lucrative lifestyle businesses. She has over 20 years experience. She's worked for Fortune 500 companies like Blue Cross and United Healthcare. We've been clients of both of those, actually. Mm-hmm. She once grew a sales division to several $100,000 and has extensive experience managing and mentoring sales teams. But you left all of that corporate goodness behind to start your own business. So we'd love to just hear a little bit about what's going on in your world and what's new with you.
Well, thank you again for having me, Minette and Brad. And I did leave everything behind. And it was one of those moments where I thought, oh, they probably should have kicked me out years ago. But I almost left. I left really doubting myself in the beginning. So the first 6 months after I quit my job, thinking, oh, everything's going to be great, and I'm going to be living on a beach and sipping pina coladas, and I'm going to be really well off, I wasn't. And the long story short here is that 6 months after I quit my corporate job, I was struggling, and my daughter was in private high school, my son was in college, and I was responsible for some of the bills, and I couldn't figure out how to make it work. So I knew that I was really good at a few things. One being I knew how to sell, and I knew how to put together a really good presentation. And I'd been growing my business on the side for a long time, doing presentations, mostly through webinars and teleseminars for years. And so I thought, just going to pull everything out of a hat, host a webinar, and lo and behold, what ended up happening was I had a presentation all around my signature talk. And by the end of that presentation, I made an offer for people to talk to me. And within a month, I went from not having many clients to 5 new clients, and I made $10,000.
Perfect.
Here's the part that I always love to say is that a lot of people think, well, $10,000 or 5 clients, it might not mean a lot. And to me, it actually meant everything. It wasn't just the money and the clients. It was also that I finally had a way to get clients whenever I wanted. And so that was the secret. I thought, oh, why have I been spinning my wheels for 6 months? So once I figured out that that's what I needed to incorporate, speaking in every capacity, my business really began to take off. And I had a process behind it, which I'll talk more about, but it changed everything. It was fantastic.
Brad's excited. He's like, process? Systems?
No, actually, you know what?
It's a great story.
Just to interject, the part I love about that, and I'm sort of new on the entrepreneurial journey to celebrating a year at this business, and finding that one thing that works is a real watershed moment. Because even if it only, like you said, it worked to the tune of $10,000. Well, that's great money, but certainly it's not what your end goal is, or most likely. But just the knowledge that you have something that you know that works, that you can replicate and grow from,
like a water faucet, you can just turn it on.
Yeah, there's so much confidence built from that. I definitely understand that story.
Yeah, and I think that's a part of what we're doing the first year in business, and congratulations, because it's a great accomplishment. And there's all this, well, we should be working on this project, and we should work on this, and all these tasks that we think we're supposed to be working on. But bottom line, we're in business to make money. And so if we can figure out how to make money and a process, a marketing strategy to make that happen, you know what? We're going to make it. So it's just, once you know that and can repeat it, that's when you can create the consistency in all of your actions.
Very nice.
So is it that personal story part of what has you excited and passionate about teaching other entrepreneurs about using speaking as a money-making model in their business?
It's part of the story. So I had worked for Blue Cross United Healthcare for a very long time, collectively 13 years. And then I went to work for a very small brokerage firm. I was a health insurance and employee benefits consultant. And so what I did for a long time was I worked with small employers, actually small and large employers, consulting them on their health insurance and all of their benefit choices. And so I took a leap. I went to work for 3 men who started their own business, 3 entrepreneurs. And I thought, oh, I'm going to try this. This is kind of an interesting opportunity for me. Well, 3 years into working for them, one of my bosses actually had a massive heart attack at the office while we were all there. There were just 10 of us there. And it was the most devastating thing I'd ever experienced. And there was nothing we could do. And he passed away. And I thought, okay, I can't be doing this anymore. This is not what I really want to be doing. I'm miserable at what I'm doing. I was devastated at his passing. And then shortly after I left, I went to work for a different brokerage firm. And within about a month, I was sued. And I basically it was a non-compete, which I didn't violate. But within a couple of months, I went through these very traumatic events.
Sounds like a country song.
It was very difficult. And so in that 3 years, I wasn't able to speak. So basically, I was not able to talk. I really had to keep to myself, and I lost a lot of confidence. I lost a lot of confidence in myself and my ability. And I couldn't go after any business that I'd known and worked with for many years. So I felt like I was a shell, like a shadow in myself. And so once I got out the other side of that, I realized I wanted to have my own business. And part of my mission is really to help women in particular, bring their voice to their work and be able to share their message and passion with the world, because I lost mine and I don't want anyone to feel like they have to lose theirs in doing what they're doing. So that's why I teach speaking, because it's such a powerful way to talk about what you've been through and say, I've got a solution. I'm passionate about teaching you, and you can do that in the fastest way possible, or the fastest way you can do that is through speaking, and you can affect so many people in doing that. So that's why I'm really passionate about this.
And I imagine during that time you were raising your babies and married and all of that.
Yeah, my kids were young.
Imagine.
Yeah, my husband and I, it was an interesting time for us because we had 2 young kids, and one of my children, we decided to send to private school at the time because we realized it would be the best opportunity. But remember, I went from this kind of nice high-profile job to quitting to then starting over to all of these things happened. And then when he decided to go to private school, we're like, oh my gosh, how are we going to be able to afford this? It was a tough time, but I grew. The man that I worked for, I grew his business quite successfully to several $100,000 in a very short period of time. I doubled the practice that he had. I went from, I think we had 10 or 12 clients at the time. I went up to about 85 within about a year and a half. So I knew how to grow a business. Mm-hmm. And he was a financial planner. So I had the benefit of taking everything that I know, working alongside with somebody else that was helping small business owners learn how to, effectively create more wealth in their own practices and businesses. So it's
that's a great partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. It's such a powerful story. So, and I love hearing how your personal story really connects to your passion, because I think it's so impactful for everyone that's listening to realize that, yeah, you're great at sales, yeah, you're great at speaking, but you're also human, mm-hmm. right? And that your success has come from failures, right? Or from just these experiences that you've had, right? And that every entrepreneurial journey is just as much about personal growth as it is about strategic growth, financial growth. I think that's one of the things, that we've witnessed on our journey together over the last year. I've been an entrepreneur for 15 years, right? But this is his first time to be 100% in the business, in our business, working together, right? And it's that the personal growth part has been so powerful. Just recognize that journey. So I love that. But
and nothing like speaking to take your personal growth and actually really amplify it and because you're putting yourself out there, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You're so raw.
You can't be speaking and not be putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
That's right.
Authentic.
Yeah. Sharing your stories, right? I mean, it's, it's the Brene Brown way these days, right? The vulnerability piece, which, I think it's really changed the speaking industry in some really powerful and beautiful ways. I think what we're witnessing more and more on stages are people who are willing to share their stories, right? And they're the ones that are really connecting, having an impact, making a difference.
And I'll add this because a lot of my clients will come to me and they'll say, I gave this presentation and it didn't convert. I didn't get any conversations. I didn't get any sales from it. And I'll actually analyze the presentation. What I typically find is there's no personal connection. There's nothing that audience will feel that they could hear themselves in your story. And so that's one of the secrets to doing a really great presentation. It's the moment that you drop your guard and you're real and you tell them, this is what's happened to me. This is why I know this works. And you're real and honest. Then the audience, instead of kind of sitting back and crossing their arms, they're leaning in. And the goal for you is to be able to, as a speaker, be able to have your audience sitting on the end of their seat or like putting their head in and cupping their ear and listening a little closer. And that's what you want to be able to do. You want to create that connection between the two.
That a phrase you just said there, hear themselves in your story.
Yeah, and so I just wrote that down.
It's fantastic because obviously it's crucial for speaking, but it's the basis of the ideal client stuff that we work with our clients on. You need to be writing a love letter to your ideal client, and the way to do that, the way they can really
look in the mirror,
the way they can resonate with you is to hear themselves in your story.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. Yes.
So let's talk about speaking and why you think that speaking is not just probably, from my perspective, a necessary part, but a mandatory part of any great marketing strategy.
So, a lot of my clients will come to me and they'll say, I've been trying for a year or a couple of years to grow my business and I'm not getting anywhere. And the first thing I'll do is I'll evaluate their marketing plan. And quite often what I find is that there's no speaking going on. And
do you find they actually have marketing plans?
Yeah, sometimes they do. Yes. In fact, a lot of the people come to me. Most of my ideal clients are actually people who've been in business for a little while.
Okay.
And they're just not getting where they want to go. And so the very first thing I look at is, where are you speaking? And are you speaking?
Mm-hmm.
And are you speaking online? Are you speaking offline? Are you hosting events? Are you hosting workshops? Are you hosting your own teleseminars or webinars? And I find that almost all of them, when they come to me, they might have tried to speak once. They might have gone out to their local networking event or asked if they could be a speaker, and they were turned down, and that didn't work. Or they might have tried to host a teleseminar or a webinar, and they said, "Oh, this is just too much. I can't do it. It's too challenging. I can't run Facebook ads." And there's so many alternatives around this. So what I believe, and why I know speaking is so effective, is there's so many ways that you can do it. And it doesn't have to be over the top expensive. It doesn't have to be complicated or challenging. When I first started doing this years ago, there were no Facebook ads. In fact, there wasn't even lead pages at that time where people had the opportunity to easily create these opt-in pages or registration pages.
Yeah, you had to hire a programmer, right, to do it all for you.
Right, or you had to embed the code onto your website and create a funky little sales page. And I'm not techie in the least, but I was able to do that. And what I was doing was, and this is a strategy I used, and I think this is really key. Before the Facebook ads, I was just finding collaborative partners, both online and live. And I was connecting with them, and I was talking to them about how I could bring what they did to my audience and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And then all we did would be what I call joint venture webinars and teleseminars. And so I would be introduced to their audience and vice versa. And
can I ask you something? Maybe just if we could get into a little bit of detail about the part where you connected with them. Did you research and find people that their messaging was close to yours? Did you phone them up on the telephone, email? What type of tactics?
People get really stuck on this piece of reaching out.
It's a great question, and thank you for stopping me on that. So I did a couple of things because I was marketing online anyway. So I was in a variety of Facebook groups. I was on Twitter. I was on LinkedIn. And then offline, I was going to some networking events. But I have to tell you, the majority of the work that I've done over the years, or at least initially when I was growing my business while I was still working, was I did mostly all of this online. And what I would do was, as I was on Twitter and I was engaging with people, having real conversations with people, I would look at their bio. I would go to their website. I would take a look and see, who were they? What was their platform? What was it they spoke about? I would check out all their social media. I would see if they had a speaking page. I would look to see if maybe they had an audience already. And then I would make a little note. Oh, this is somebody I want to connect with. And so then I would just communicate with them on Twitter. Hey, I love what you're doing. This is so great. My audience really needs to know about what you're doing. Let's connect sometime. Maybe we can set up a time to speak. And that's all I did. And I met all sorts of interesting people through that. Even on Facebook groups now, at this point, same thing. Some groups I join, I'll read just comments and I'll say, oh, that's really interesting. And I'll follow the thread. It's like taking the breadcrumbs and following the breadcrumbs all the way back, to grandma's house. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, well, what's at grandma's house? I'll look for what is it that I like about them? What's their message? Who's their audience? Are there some connections? And then I make the next step of speaking to them.
I love the intentional sleuthing part of that. That's a great tactic.
Yeah, it really works. It really works. And it's so simple, and people think, oh, I don't have time for that. You know what? If you can do something like that and you find out that their audience needs to hear what you have to say, and you can be in front of 2,000 people that you weren't in front of the month before, why wouldn't you? And that's what ended up happening to me. Every single month I spoke to somebody just with this small tactic. I would speak to people. My mailing list would grow anywhere between 50 to a couple of hundred people a month. And I would have an opportunity to speak about what I talk about and introduce myself to their audience and typically make some type of offer. And they would do the same thing for my community. And that's how I agree with that.
I like
that. That's a brilliant tactic. Maybe that could be your part.
Oh,
Keep adding to my to-do list. Yeah. That's so awesome. I'm the one who goes out and does all the speaking, right? So, so back to that original question of why speaking is such a brilliant marketing strategy.
It's so effective. So it's so simple to be able to get out in front of people with your message, to be able to use it to attract clients. It's a great way to get your message out into the world. And it can be done in so many ways. So you can like what we're doing today in a podcast. I can be on a telesummit. I could be speaking and sponsoring at an event. I've actually spoken for 5 minutes at conferences before, and people have said, well, why would you want to invest to be a speaker for 5 minutes at a conference? Well, if I'm going to be in front of 300 people and I'm going to be able to have them all learn about me, sure, I'll pay for that and I'll let them know about me.
So that's a great point that you, it's not always about getting paid to speak. I think that's a myth and a mistake that, people make, right? Can you speak to that a little bit, that you paid to speak to go get on the stage?
Yeah, most of the time, in fact, I actually do not get paid to speak. I would say it's only happened once because I do not ask for it. Yeah. And I'm not looking for those. At some point, I will want that, but at this point, what I'm doing is looking for opportunities to get my message out in front of the right people. Mm-hmm. And so I like to be able to sell on the other side. And if selling means inviting people to come to my events that I have, or if it means purchasing my course, or if it means having a conversation with me, that's what I'm looking for. I'm not necessarily looking to get paid at this point to speak, because when that happens, I'm done. I can't always necessarily sell on the other side. But for some people, they want that, and that's part of their platform, and that's fantastic.
And do you work with people on both sides, both people that want to be paid to speak and people who want to learn how to speak to sell?
I do not. I actually work with people who want to speak to attract clients, or speak to actually sell their courses, or speak to fill their workshops and things like that.
Awesome. So you've already given us one great strategy on getting started by using collaborations and speaking virtually to people's audiences. But what are some other tips you have for people who want to get started speaking?
So one really great thing, well, first of all, you have to have your signature talk. So you need to have, and a signature talk is essentially a presentation that is directing people to a call to action of some sort. So there's a few components to it. One is your message, right? So you want to make sure that people who are sitting there are connected to what it is that you have to say. What is it that you believe in? What is it that is important to you? And what is the process that you might have learned that connects back to what you believe in? So for me, I have a presentation that I do, which is Speak Your Way to More Clients. And it talks about the 5 ways that you can speak your way to more clients, or the 5 steps to it. And so the way I do it is I actually talk about what I did and the process that I did to start speaking to attract more clients. So my signature talk really basically breaks down what I did to do that. Nice. And so I forgot the rest of the question that you asked me before.
No, it's just more tips on, you shared about the connection and collaboration using social media, but what are some other strategies that you teach to help people get started with speaking? So signature talk.
Yeah. So once you know your signature talk, then what you want to think about is where are your ideal clients? So where would they be hanging out? So before you can actually get out there and start speaking, you have to do some research. And some of the things that I do, and this is actually another little strategy, is when you're networking and going to networking events locally, a lot of people are networking to get clients. And I think that's actually the wrong approach.
Totally agree.
The right approach, I think, is that you're networking for the opportunity to connect with maybe their audience, or connect with them for the opportunity for the speaking engagements that they might have or know about. So typically what I do is when I go to a networking event and it's my opportunity to speak, and they say, so why are you here? And I'll say, well, I'm here to get my message out that speaking is a really powerful way to attract more clients. So if you know of anybody that needs to know about my work, I would be more than happy to share my information so you can pass that on. Additionally, I'm also looking for speaking opportunities where I can speak about what I believe to be true about speaking to attract clients and why it's so powerful. So if you know of any speaking opportunities or anyone that you can connect me to, I would be so grateful for those referrals. So I'm not asking for business. I'm asking for connections. And that's one strategy that I would really tell people. Go to your next networking event and find out who can connect you to audiences that you want to be in front of, and ask for those opportunities. And you in turn should do the same. So
yeah, it's so true. I love that philosophy on networking. It's what I tell all of my clients as well. It's like you're not going into a networking event to get clients. You're going in there to build an army of referral partners, right? You know, and that you have to go in with service first, showing up and saying, how can I support you as you're meeting and talking one-on-one to people. But I love the strategy of just being so specific about what you want from people in the room. And a referral to a speaking opportunity is very specific, or an introduction to doctor's offices, but it's just people tend to be so vague. And I think they get the impression then that networking isn't effective and doesn't work for them. And I disagree with that, because it's also another form of speaking under the umbrella of types of speaking. But I loved what you were saying about all the different things that you define as speaking. Mm-hmm. So maybe say a little more about that. Webinars, teleseminars.
Oh, sure. So there's so many ways. So yes, of course, webinars, teleseminars, and then joint venture ones where you can flip-flop, podcasts, telesummits, radio interviews, television interviews, hosting your own teleseminars and webinars, right? Hosting your own workshops, and then speaking out in front of other people's audiences. So whether it's a 5-minute, 10-minute, 20-minute, 30-minute presentation, whether it's as a sponsor at an event, so you've got an opportunity to speak for 5 minutes, and even the most basic one, which is your elevator speech at a networking event. Those are all ways that you can be speaking to attract more clients.
So that's amazing. I love that broad definition of speaking, because so many people instantly go into their fear place of what? Speaking? I can't speak. What would I talk about? I'm so nervous. I can't stand up. So talk to me a little bit. Do you support your clients around the just fear of speaking piece?
I do. And so that I get a lot of questions about that. And so I originally went to college for speech communication. And so I was the girl, I had a speech impediment when I was a child. So I had a terrible lisp, and I was in speech therapy until I was in 3rd grade. And I was very shy. So I never wanted to speak. In fact, I never raised my hand in class. And when I did, my face was always red. And then I went all the way through high school, barely being known, barely being heard. And I went to college, and I wasn't a good student. So I started studying speech communication because I really liked the study of it. But I liked the interpersonal side of it, but not necessarily the public presentation part. So what ended up happening for me was what my advisor said, you've got to have some speaking skills before you go out and do this. And so, and this is actually the secret to all of this, is I took a job. I went to the University of Rhode Island, and I took a job working for their mansions here, owned by the Vanderbilt families. And I took a job at the Breakers, the Marble House here, and I had to do tours to about 50 people. They were 45-minute tours, and I had to do them about 7 times a day. And I think
like a docent type of?
As a docent, right. And so I had to memorize a script of 27 pages, and I had to learn the history, I had to learn the family, I had to learn how to do it. And I'll tell you, by the end of my first week, I was no longer afraid to speak. And the only reason for that was because I was so comfortable with my material.
Yeah.
I was so passionate about what I was doing and what I was talking about that it didn't matter. So what I always and so again, I was a 21-year-old kid. And so for me, I never, ever worried again about getting in front of any stage. And so when I was in my corporate job, I was speaking in front of employees, 500 employees at a time. And I was 23 years old. And I thought, this is no big deal. I can do this. And the reason why was because I practiced. I knew my material. I was passionate about what I knew. And so what I always recommend with anyone, whoever is afraid to speak, is reconnect to your why. Why is it that you need to get your message out into the world? What is important about letting other people know in doing that and practice. And so when you do that, it won't be so challenging. And of course, you're going to have the nerves every time you step on stage. I still do, but
Me too.
They go away because you step into why you're there to begin with.
That's awesome. I went through, it's funny because I was in corporate for 20 years and gave lots of training and presentation to different size groups, 5, 10, 30. And, but I was always in a place of expertise. So I was presenting stuff that clearly I was comfortable with, and I still had nerves, but not too bad. But then going to, we hold our Path to Profit Summit, or we're changing we have a name change coming up. But anyways, our signature summit that we've done 3 or 4 times now in the last year and a half. So I took on a speaking role to take my own part of being on stage. And first time out was pretty iffy, reading the notes.
It was painful to watch until his back was against the screen, his slides behind him.
But which was strange for me. I mean, I knew I was going to be nervous, but it was also just that comfort level. But after the second and third time, the practice level was higher, the comfort level was higher. And so it really was kind of a Band-Aid that needed to get pulled off quickly and just more time. And you did it, you jumped in at 21 or whatever as a docent. You don't really have the opportunity to be nervous about speaking in a job like that.
Right.
So I guess what from my experience and from what you guys are saying, to anyone out there who is just horribly nervous about even the thought of public speaking, it just takes a few times and then you'll really get the hang of it. Even if you are a complete introvert and not really comfortable at all in front of people, you can do it.
I completely agree.
Yeah, it's such a great point. And there's so many great places to speak, Jeannie, that are so welcoming. Like one of the things I tell my clients is Rotary is such a great place to practice because Rotary groups, it's a short talk and you can't sell, so you don't have to get nervous about the offer. But I have never spoken at a Rotary group that wasn't so warm and so welcoming, right? They're just lovely. They're curious. They're interested. They're engaged. Whatever you're talking about, they're curious about, they meet speakers all the time. So I think some of it is just finding some safe places. Another, I don't know if you teach this, but one of the things that I love is just getting people to have a home party. The reason why the Tupperware party model works and is still in existence in so many different industries, just inviting a few safe friends into your home and just speaking in the comfort of your own home, inviting people to be your guests and just witness that, right? For a while.
Oh. Absolutely. And I was just going to say that one of my clients now hosts several workshops a month in her home to just a few people at a time. And it's so great because she now feels so comfortable, number one, with her content. And she's repeating, it's the same information or some of the same information, but it's a new audience. And so it's just another form of practice, but in such a safe environment. Yeah. So I love that you're teaching the same. That's fantastic.
No, I don't teach speaking. I teach that it's an important part of their strategy, but we're always looking to partner with experts. I don't help teach people how to write their signature talk, but I bug them all the time about how important a marketing strategy speaking is, right? And so I'm curious what some of the mistakes are that new speakers make when they're first getting out there and they're gung-ho and excited about using speaking to attract clients, and then they're not getting the conversion.
Wait, too much PowerPoint? That was my guess.
Yeah. Well, so there's a couple things. So the first thing is whenever you're putting together a presentation, you have to make sure you have some structure to it. So you can't just go out there and speak off the cuff. You actually have to have a flow to your presentation. And what I break it down, there's 7 components to the presentation. And the first is obviously you've got to engage the audience right from the start. And what happens is I see a lot of people, they'll go out and they'll speak and there's no eyes on them. Like you're looking to get eyes on them, and whatever strategy or eyes on you, and whatever strategy you use to get eyes on you, you have to make sure that the audience is paying attention to you. So I actually often will get out on stage and I won't say anything. I'll be introduced and I'll get there and I'll just stand there and I'll plant my feet. And if the audience is kind of really just still not, cooperating, I will stand there. And then people will look like, hey, she's been introduced. Why isn't she saying anything? So there's a couple of things, like some techniques, but you want to start with commanding that audience and creating some engagement. And so then I start off kind of powerfully, and I ask some questions to engage the room. And I move from there, keeping with the theme of my message. And so every good presentation is going to have a message. And the message really should be connected to the story. It should be connected to your content, and it should be connected to your offer. So as long as you have all of those things, the message is woven all throughout it, then the person who's listening to this information can say, oh, I see how this all connects. So you've got to be really careful not to, one, give too much information, two, go off track in too many different directions and talk about things that aren't necessarily relevant to the message that you're there to deliver. And three, you've got to be excited about the content that you're talking about. You've got to be passionate about it. And it doesn't mean you have to be over the top and, really dramatic. It just means that you have to be believable in what it is that you're talking about. A lot of people, they don't show that enthusiasm or excitement about what it is they're talking about. So it bores the audience. Another thing that I see, and this is the presentation component to it, which drives me absolutely insane. And, Brad, I think you can appreciate this from our corporate days, but, too many bullet points on a slide, right? It's like, oh, if I see one more slide that has all text, and it's like, oh, I'm going to just, cry.
Manette, you have no idea. You just...
I've seen a few like that.
Oh, God,
but,
you just have no idea.
Yeah, no, I've seen a few like that. I was at somebody else's 3-day event, no handouts, too much information on the slides, didn't want people to take pictures of the slides, but she was going so fast. It's like, whoa, right? It was like that total just fire hose model. And it was really painful. We all ended up taking pictures of the slides anyway, right? To try to capture, because it was great stuff.
But if you watch people during the talk,
then they're reading the slides.
They're just reading the slides.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's not the point. So there's a really good book, and I don't think I have it in front of me, but it's How to Create TED-worthy Slides, I believe. It's by Akash. I'll get it for you. Akash Akari, I believe. But anyway, it's the part of what they say in this book is that every slide, every PowerPoint presentation, your goal is to convey one message per slide. So, it can be in one word, it can be one sentence, or it can be in a visual. And so don't ever be afraid to actually use a lot of slides. In fact, my webinar presentation that's 60 minutes long has 140 slides.
Wow. I was just going to ask you if you follow that same philosophy with your webinar strategy as well.
Yeah, but that's fine if you followed that where the slide supports your point, right? Yeah. You have a beautiful image, you have a single word or perhaps a quote. That's great. That enhances the message. Yeah. But people tend to just start dumping their text on there.
You'll lose people immediately. So that's a big thing that I see a lot of times, is that people will just put way too much content, and they over deliver in the presentation, either in the amount of content that they're delivering and or on the presentation itself. And the other mistake I see is a lot of people think, oh, I have to give so much because the more I give, the more likely they're going to buy, or they're going to say they want to work with you. And actually, sometimes you don't.
It's crazy. It's totally counterintuitive, right? That actually the less you give them, the more intrigued they are.
And also, you need to make relevant points. And so, for example, my presentation, I'll just kind of give you this so you understand. I cover 5 components to my presentation when I'm talking about speaking to attract clients. And I typically I'll overview 5 of them. I'll say, here are the 5. And I usually, in my actual presentation for like a 30-minute presentation, I'll go deeply into one of them. Yeah, because if I went deeply into all 5, it's a 3-day workshop, which is actually what I do. So I have a 3-day workshop around it. But so you have to be careful not to do that.
I'd love that. So tell us a little bit about your 3-day workshop.
So I had one this past year. It was called, it was a Talk and Profit event. And so it was really all about
Talk and Profit?
Talk and Profit.
That's awesome.
And it was basically how to use speaking to attract clients and grow your business. But the first day was all about speaking and learning how to speak. And the second day was all about sales mastery, selling, but also having really effective sales conversations. And then the third day, we talked about your marketing overall and really making money in your business, how to do that.
Yeah,
so
super
this year I'm doing a little bit of a different one. So I haven't put it out to the public yet, but it's going to have some of the same components. I've retired that one and I'm moving on to a new one. So.
Nice. We're just rebranding ours. It was the Path to Profit. Now it's going to be the Creative Business Summit Dream Design Profit. So it's all that same finding your sweet spot, right? And finding what really matters most and what connects with your audience. And so much of, I think, what you're saying just aligns with the rest of your marketing strategy. And what I loved about what you said, to pull it all together, is that if people are clear about their signature talk, they're usually clear about their signature system, they're usually clear about their ideal client, and it makes all of the other pieces of their business easier, right? And so much simpler and more clear. So I love that you focus on speaking. So how can people get more of you? How can they connect with you? Where can they find you online?
Sure. They can learn more about me at jeanniespiro.com. And I have a free gift, which I'm happy to share with you.
Yeah, please do.
It's a speaking guide, and it's really something I created to help people who are getting started with speaking. And there's 4 components, and it talks about what to do before you actually go out, like how to prepare, what you need when you go, and how to actually close when you're at the speaking engagement. And so it's jeanniespiro.com/speaking guide. And
we'll have that in
the show notes. So, but if you're listening on iTunes and you have to go right now and get the guide, Jeannie is GEANNIE, Spiro, SPIRO.com/speaking guide. So jeanniespiro.com/speaking guide, but we will have that in the show notes. And are you still a social media junkie? You love to hang out on Facebook and...
Actually, I just want to correct you because a lot of people do this, but my name is spelled JEANNIE.
What did I say?
G. But I get that all the time. That's okay.
That's hilarious. I'm looking right at it. So I'm so glad you corrected me. I'm looking right at the J. JEA, like Jean.
Yes.
With extra NIE on the end. JEANNIESPIRO.com. So funny. I was just
learned how to spell today.
I was introducing someone by text and had a total dyslexic moment. So it was a group text and got somebody's number wrong. It's apparently, it's a Monday, right? So
that's okay. Yeah. Well, to answer your question, so I've been having a lot of fun with Instagram lately. That is my new place to be.
Me too.
Okay, I'll look you up. And so that's where I've been hanging out. So again, it's just my name, Jeannie Spiro, and I'm on Facebook at Jeannie Spiro. Those are the 2 places that I spend most of my time. Nice. And I made a decision this year I would be doing a video blog once a week. So you can either find me on my website at jeanniespiro.com or on YouTube again with the same. So another form of speaking. So I thought. Excellent. I'm going to do that too. So I'm a couple weeks in. I think I've gotten 3 done so far, so I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Fabulous. And so just curious, in alignment with that, are you doing Facebook Live videos as well?
I am, yes, and I have been for a while. And I try to get on weekly and do some sort of Facebook Live. So, yeah.
So many great examples of all the different ways that speaking can have an impact on growing your business. It was just such great information, Jeannie, and we appreciate your time today.
Wonderful stuff. Love it. Love the tactics.
Yeah.
I hope everybody's listening intently and writing.
Yes, I was madly over here taking lots of notes. So we're the Path to Profit podcast. Brad Dobson, Dr. Minette Riordan, here with our guest, Jeannie Spiro today. It's been an awesome conversation, Jeannie. I hope you'll come back and visit us again.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for having me.
And to connect more with Brad and I, you can find us at pathtопроfitacademy.com or on Facebook at Path to Profit Academy as well.